She wore a lot of hats, figuratively speaking to be exact. She worked under a palm tree, governing an entire nation. One day, at her National Security Advisor meeting, she called out one of her military commanders for not obeying God with what he was calling the commander to do. She inquisitively led him. "Hasn't the Lord, the God of Israel, commanded you, go, deploy the troops on Mount Tabor?" Judges 4:6. Barak, the military commander, wasn't ready to do so on his own, but he made a deal with Deborah. "If you will go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go." Judges 4:8. Deborah, being the compassionate and focused leader she was, agreed to Barak's proposal, and off they went, followed by 10,000 soldiers. They were headed to a battle against Canaan, who had been oppressing them. Because of Deborah's yes, God was ready to use them. Their objective was to defeat Sisera, the commander of the Canaanite armies. If they could defeat him and kill him, they would be victorious. As they were on their way to attack, God went before them and threw the Canaanite armies into a panic. Let's fast forward. Sisera had fled his armies and was killed by a woman named Jael. The Canaanites were defeated. That day, God subdued King Jabin of Canaan before the Israelites. Judges 4:23. God did it all for them, but it all began with Deborah's yes. When they received the victory from God, Deborah and Barak sang a song, and the first couple of lines are packed with wisdom that directly applies to life today. Here's what they sang. "When the leaders lead in Israel, when the people volunteer, blessed be the Lord." Judges 5:2. What they knew about reality is that there is a direct connection between God's people doing what they are supposed to do and God receiving the glory for what is done. When an invention works properly and does what it is designed to do, the inventor gets the credit. The same is true when we do what God has called us to do. The same is true when we use our skills, gifts, and passions to bring about good. When we do what we are wired to do, the credit must go to the one who wired us. Deborah Summit. Deborah inquired, and Deborah agreed. Her leadership took Barak past where he was willing to go on his own. That's what a good leader does. She brought the conversation to him, let him make the decisions, and willingly assisted him in the endeavor he felt was beyond him. Many of us wrestle with our calling because we don't have a Deborah in our lives. We lack a leader around us who is willing to take their focus off of themselves and put it onto us in our calling. It's easy to say, God called me to this, so I'm going to do it. But sometimes it's not as easy to go and do the thing we're called to. Sometimes we need a person in our life to say, hey, I remember God called you to this. What's holding you back? God can use whomever He chooses, and this is the thread that can be seen from Genesis to Revelation. God is at work. He is going ahead of His people and handling the conflicts and battles. And when He does this, what follows behind Him are regular people who decided to say yes to Him. I don't know who you resonate more with, Deborah, the wise leader, or Barak, the timid commander. But either way, what you can know is that in the midst of your victories and in your timidity, God is on the throne. He is the one who can take your timidity and place a confident Deborah-type person in your life. He is the one who can take your wisdom and place a timid Barak-type person in your midst. Either way, God wants to use you. When we say yes to God, we glorify God. When we willingly step into the places and the situations God is leading us towards, we say to the watching world that our lives are dependent on the Lord of Lords. And that testimony, in both word and deed, is what will point the people in our communities towards life, Jesus Christ. And the land had peace for 40 years. Judges 5:31b.